Well, good morning, my Algebros. This is your very first video of the school year. So in the event that you missed it because you're gone, or maybe you just need to see it again, right? So it's our first day of notes. We talk about having lined paper and all the things we need to have to be successful. This is how we always title our papers. You have your number that you got in class today, your name, and it's all just alphabetical so I can grade faster and put it in the grade book faster and get it back to you faster. So you have your name, your number, the class period, really important, and the lesson title. So if I were doing this, I would be something around like number 21 because of my last name. And I'm just doing this for 1A. And my lesson today is 1-1. That stands for Chapter 1, Lesson 1. So we're going to start today with a whiteboard warm-up. So you should have your whiteboard out and you would get to it. And that's the things that we did in class. Our warm-up looked like this. We factored 24. We reviewed some fractions. And then we talked about the difference between 2a and a squared. 2a is just a plus a, where a squared is a times a. Big differences. If you have any struggles on this, let me know and I'll send you a separate video. All right, so let's get down to today's lesson. 1-1, Chapter 1, Lesson 1, Variables and Expressions. In our notes, you only have to put the 1-1. You don't need to put the essential question, but the essential question lets you know where are we going and what should you, by the end of the lesson, feel very confident to do. So first we went over vocabulary. Variables, constants, numerical expressions, and then of course algebraic expressions. So a variable is just the letter. It represents some unknown value or something like A could be elephants and A could be apples, or A could be 81, right? And a constant is just a whole number, not a fraction, because a fraction is an operation, but a whole number. So for example, you have 4 and -2. But how come it's not that 5 in front of the x? Because that 5 in front of the x is called a coefficient. A coefficient. It's how many x's, right? Numerical expressions are just an operation with two numbers involved there. At least two numbers, it could be more. So 5 plus 4, 5 times 6. And operations are adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Of course, there's more to it. You can do exponentials and all that, but we'll get to that more later. An algebraic expression is just like a numerical expression, except there's some unknowns involved that are represented with a variable. So notice all of these are expressions. They're not equations yet. That's in our next lessons. These are just expressions. And why is it so important that we understand this? Because when you're dealing with algebra, you have to evaluate expressions with orders of operations, and we'll also talk about that next time. All right, let's just talk about how I know how to make expressions from, like, say, a word problem. So if I have adding, there's some things that make up adding, combined together, sum, increased by, added to. Subtract, there's words that in our sentence, how much, to find out how much more or less, you would use a subtraction. So that's minus, the difference of, decreased by, less than, and of course our favorite takeaway back in the day. Multiplying, putting things together in equal groups. This is a product, and to remember that it is a product, you can think, if I want to multiply my money, I make a product to sell it, right? So product is multiplying, or times, or multiply by. The biggest thing here is of. Of means to multiply. And then divide, separate into equal groups. This is quotient. And quotient is kind of a complicated word, and division is sometimes complicated. So hopefully you can remember that quotient goes with division. So divided by ratios of, per, the word per, like miles per hour is actually a division, and rates, right? So let's translate these algebraic expressions into words. If I have x plus 3, I'm going to do it a bunch of ways, but let's look at this. X plus 3 could be x plus 3, or a number plus 3, x increased by 3, 3 more than a number. And 2y, or 2 times y, and really we get away from this this year because we always go with this one, right? 2 multiplied by y, 2 times a number, the product of 2 and a number. Now, why is this important? Because we want to be able to know what we're doing, but we also want to know how to write things from phrases, and we'll practice that in a second. Now, this is where people really get tripped up, because it's m minus 7. Pardon me. M minus 7. So which one's the negative, right? A number m decreased by 7, 7 less than the number m, the difference of m and 7. So you really have to make sure you're noting where that verb less is attached to the 7 and not the m, right? Very important. K divided by 5. And the quotient of k and 5. The k, with the numerator always comes first, the denominator's always second. All right, and we'll get to our first you try. We would do this on whiteboards in the classroom, and then you try it, and then we check it. Go ahead and check yours. All right, translate these into algebraic expressions. This tends to be harder for everybody. Eve reads 25 pages per hour, right? So we have to take these words and make an algebraic expression from it. So first of all, this is a rate. And as soon as we see that it's a rate, we know it's going to be a fraction, right? Because it's per hour. So I can write that rate first, pages per hour, and then I can fill in what I know to finish it off. How many pages per hour? Well, it's 25 pages per hour. So there we go. Number 2, Sam is 2 years younger than Sue, who is Y years old. How do we do this? We need to see who's represented with what. All we know about Sam is that Sam is 2 years less. Right? Less. So we know we have some sort of subtraction here. So this could be a -2, right? And then Sue is going to be represented by Y. So we know it's going to be Y minus 2. Y minus 2 will represent Sam. Oh, and I'm going to skip this one. All right. Here's another you try. You can pause the video here and then check your solutions. Evaluating algebraic expressions. So if we're given the value of variables, like x is 8 and y is 5 and z is 4, and then we're given some expressions, we can substitute the value in to resolve the expression. So if I have x plus y, that would be 8 plus 5, which we know is 13. And then x divided by z, that's 8 divided by 4, which is 2. And then y times z is 5 times 4, which is 20. Go ahead and do this. You try, pause the video, and check your solutions. All right, that kind of clears it up for today. You're going to be doing these problems in the textbook. And don't worry if you don't have the textbook, because I have the PDFs online for you. And you also have a 1-1 puzzle to complete. Now remember, everything is on paper, right? You can't do it on your iPad and turn it in electronically. I don't do electronic submissions except for videos that you will be creating later, but that's a different story. So everything's on paper. So if you want to do the textbook on your lined paper and then on the back of it, do the work for the puzzle, that's great. But you have to do it on paper. The other thing is you always have to show your work, and you have to show your work. No work, no credit. Okay? No work, no credit. You got to show your work. All right, have a great day. I will see you in class.